Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Write or Die Show. I'm your host, Randi-lee. On the show, we interview other writers and we talk about mental health from their personal journeys. If you have not already hit that like and subscribe button, go ahead, do that now so that you never miss an episode. Hello, everyone. So, in case you didn't know, today is recorded. I know, I'm so sorry. I don't know, this is playing a month later. I think I have a dentist appointment. I think that's why we had to record. So be glad that you're not at the dentist too. Yay. Anyways, today with us, we have Cathelina Duvert. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. A little bit sleepy. It's getting late, but that's okay. I love your hair, by the way.
Thank you. I thought it was fun.
It is fun. So tell us a little bit about who Cathelina is.
Okay, sure. So Cathelina is a writer. I'm also a teacher, but I really resonate with being a writer these days. I call myself a depressive or recovering depressive. I suffered with depression, and it used to be really bad way back in the days, and until before I found out that I was really suffering with depression. Anyway, so I've taken one of the things that has helped me through this depression is writing. So I have a blog. I've been writing about my depression through my blog, and then I wrote a novel where I based my main character's main conflict with depression through what I suffered.
Oh, let's see your nails. Sorry, very distracted.
Oh, sure.
Oh, I love them. Are they orange or red? Like they look orange.
They're orange.
Yes, they do look orange in the camera too. So sorry, I get distracted easily.
That's okay. That's fun.
Right? We kind of go here and there and everywhere. So what do you teach?
I teach English, ELA.
Oh, nice.
To 7th and 9th graders.
That was going to be my next question. The age range. Oh, children. I don't think I could do it. I did work in adult education for a couple of years till my contract ended. I don't think I could ever do children. That's a brave person.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, once you're in it, you deal with it. Some days I don't feel like I can do it either. Trust me.
How long have you been doing it for?
16 years.
Oh my goodness.
Yes.
Wow, that is a long time. You don't look old enough to have been a teacher for 16 years.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So you must at least kind of enjoy it then, at least. I mean, obviously being an author is always better.
I know, right? I do enjoy it. The students, for the most part, they're really good kids and they're enjoyable. I mean, you can never get bored as a teacher. Every single day is interesting. The kids are always interesting. There are days that are challenging, but it comes with the job.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So, let's go to your story then. Let's go way back, because I also loved the way that you said it, that you were that you consider yourself a depressive or a recovering depressive. I've never heard anyone put it that way, and I'm gonna steal it for myself. I like it. I'm gonna steal it.
Sure.
So when did you first start experiencing depression?
It was around when I want to say 11 or 12 years old. I'm going to say about 12 years old. And I remember distinctly something had happened during the summer that really, that I didn't know how to deal with, and I didn't know who to talk to about it. And it slowly sort of festered inside my head. I was sexually molested, if you can say, and I didn't know how to deal with it. And I didn't know who to talk to. And it as we know, when people are molested or raped or whatever, sometimes they mostly blame themselves. And that's what I did. I blamed myself for it. And so around 11 or 12, no, it was about 12 years old when I started having these depressive feelings, started having these feelings of self-hatred, anger towards the world, towards everybody. That's when I really felt my introversion come in at play, and I never dealt with it until I was in my 20s.
Yeah, so I have such a similar experience, like with
Mm-hmm.
the depression side anyways,
Mm-hmm.
the age range, the not really dealing with it until
Mm-hmm.
later. So a question for you that I've never actually posed to other people.
Okay.
But when I was a teenager, I just thought everybody hates themselves. Everybody thinks they're worthless. That's just life. And
Mm.
I'm wondering if other people had that opinion that that was just life, or if you thought something was wrong with you.
I thought something was wrong with me. I felt it. I didn't feel comfortable in my skin. I didn't feel comfortable anywhere I was.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that this was not normal. I just, yeah, didn't know how to deal with it. And I happen to have a twin sister who's completely opposite from me. She doesn't suffer with depression like I do, and she didn't know how to deal with what I was going through. So
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't even talk to her about it. It was just,
That's a
and
tough one. I
yeah.
mean, I've never had a twin, but just, not being able to, and I imagine
Hmm.
based on TV shows, so I could be totally off, but I imagine twins have that secret power that TV always shows, right? Where you have like an extra special bond that other people
Hmm.
just can't do. So to not be able to talk to your twin on stuff
Yeah.
seems even more heartbreaking than not being able to talk to just like a regular family member.
Right. Yeah.
Again,
I mean,
totally based on TV.
yeah, I hear you. Yeah, but you're right. Twins do have a certain bond. I mean, my sister and I were fraternal twins, but we do have a certain bond. And she knew that she understood what I was going through. She understood, like, when we were around other people, how I must be feeling because I didn't want to talk to people. I mean, she understood me well enough to know that I was feeling uncomfortable and feeling upset about certain things, but she just, yeah, didn't know. And mind you, I didn't know how to talk to her about it because I myself didn't really know what I was going through. I
Yes.
wasn't diagnosed with depression until my late 20s. And so before that, I just thought that there was something wrong with me. I didn't know the word was depression. You know what I mean? So I just didn't know.
Yes, that's
Yeah.
exactly it. Whenever I go on other people's shows and they ask me, about the depression, that is my exact answer is I didn't know what depression was. I
Yeah.
didn't have a word for it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that it's so important that we're now voicing what depression is,
Mm-hmm.
giving those kids, because that's
Mm-hmm.
what we were, 12, 13,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, we're kids, giving
Yeah.
kids the word to use to try and then get help. Because when you don't have the word to explain what it is, people
Yeah.
they don't know what to ask. A lot of times, society goes, "You're a kid. What do you have to be depressed about?
Right.
You don't need a reason."
Yeah, you
I
really
mean,
don't.
we can have a reason, as you said there. There were some circumstances, but you don't need a
you
reason.
you really don't necessarily need a reason. I mean, just feeling uncomfortable in a situation, just feeling like, was I meant to be here in this world? I don't know.
Yeah.
Pick any of the above. It's so true.
So I feel vindicated that somebody else also has that answer. Not that I was ever not, but
I hear
I,
you.
I'm in a spunky mood this evening. So as you went through the beginning of depression, like
Mhm.
before you finally found the word that
Mhm.
matched it, and you said, that you knew something was kind of wrong, but you didn't have the words, you couldn't even talk to your twin. How were you dealing with it then? Were you even dealing with it?
I wasn't. And I just lived day by day by day by day, right? Um when certain things would come up around that where I would feel incredibly depressed and crying, and people didn't understand what I was going through. Even my parents, not my parents, but mostly my mother. I remember her looking at me like, "What's wrong with you? Like, get over it. Why are you crying? You're always crying. You're always angry." I didn't deal with it. I didn't, and I think that's why it got to the point that it did when I was 26 years old, when I finally did seek help for it. Um,
Was
and
there anything particular that made you seek help for it, or
my
just enough is enough?
My sister. Enough was enough for her. Yeah. So
Oh.
yeah. So, there was one evening where I was just sitting there like crying for no reason, or what I felt like was no reason. I couldn't voice it. I didn't know why I was
Yeah.
crying. And my sister was like, she had been going through years and years and years with me, always feeling sad, always feeling depressed. Finally, she was like, you need to find help. You need to talk to somebody. And back then we had the yellow pages, not the internet yet, right? And so,
Okay, hold on. For
yes.
those youngins that don't know what she means by the yellow pages, so before you could just grab your phone and go on the internet,
Mhm.
there was this thing called a book, and it was pretty thick because
It
it
was
had
very
white
thick.
pages and yellow pages, right?
Yeah.
And the yellow pages were where all the businesses
Business.
listed their phone numbers. You had to actually open a book
Uh-huh.
and look at what business you wanted. You couldn't just type in need help with depression. Like, you had to
Yeah.
actually know, I need therapists or
Yeah.
you had to actually know the word as
Yeah. You had
well.
to. Yeah.
Anyways, always like to tease the younger viewers. Mainly
No,
because I know sometimes my kid watches it and she's like, "You're that old?" Yeah. I'm like, "Yeah,
right.
thanks." Anyways, continue. So you open
Well,
up the
yeah,
yellow
no, I
pages.
think it was very important that you had to stop and let everybody know what these were, so, what these pages were. So yeah, she looked through the yellow pages and she actually found a therapist for me. And I remember when she did that, and I didn't invite it. I was just like, okay, this is what we're doing. This is what I have to do. And so it was because of her that I first sought therapy. And I remember going into the therapist's office and having this long questionnaire to fill out and asking all these
Yes.
questions about, do you feel sad? Do you feel like you want to hurt yourself? Do you do this and that? And I remember like, wow, this is really happening. I'm really going to get help for what I'm going through. So I felt like it was time, and I felt like it was right for me to get that help at the time. I didn't even fight it.
That's so good. And I
Yeah.
think it was so brave of your sister to just do that for you.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're in that depression, when you're in that hole, I think of it as this hole that you just can't climb out of.
So do I.
Twinsies.
Yes.
And you can't climb out of it. You need somebody to take control and throw you that ladder. And that is exactly what she did. She threw you that ladder and said, come on, let's climb out.
Yeah. Definitely. Totally.
And a lot of people wouldn't do that. A lot of people would ignore it and go, well, that's your trouble. So that's really brave of your sister, and for those who are listening, if you've noticed somebody who has been going through what could potentially be depression, throw them that ladder.
Yeah.
Give them that hand them the yellow pages. But give them that ladder, help them know that they're got help.
Yeah.
They're not all by themselves.
Totally. Yeah.
So you started going to therapy. Tell us a little bit more. How'd that go?
So I started going to therapy, and of course my therapist prescribed medication for me. And I think, I want to say it was Zoloft, but
okay, yeah.
And I was just like, I called them my happy pills. I was like, all right, I'm gonna start getting better. These are my happy pills.
That's what
yes. We're so alike. Oh my gosh.
We really are.
So but it started to I broke out in a really bad rash on my neck, and I had to switch to a different medication. Now I forgot what that medication was, but and then so I was on the medication for a while, going to therapy. I was going to group therapy as well, individual and group therapy. Okay. In retrospect, I don't think the group therapy was very good for me.
I was actually going to ask, because I've never done group therapy. I've done lots of individual therapy. And I've never asked somebody how they felt at the difference between the individual and group. And it's like you read my mind because you answered before I asked.
So we sat in a group of people. They were all a lot older than I was. So I felt like there was already a disconnect, and I was the only person who was of color. Again, the second disconnect. And when I spoke about what my situation was, I just don't, I didn't feel like they heard me.
Okay.
There was at one point where, my sister and I are fraternal, and
Yeah.
we happen to look quite similar, but we do have our facial differences. We do look
Okay.
different. And all while growing up, I remember people telling me that my sister was prettier and not. And yeah, well, that's a whole other thing. Um,
I
so
hate
so
comparison.
I know it's a thing that twins have to deal with. I mean, I guess regular siblings as well,
I
but
was compared to my cousin because we were the only two girls on my mom's side.
oh, see that? Okay. And so
Hmm.
I was very, very conscious of the fact that for a long time, I did feel like my sister was prettier. But at that time, when I was in therapy, I didn't feel like she was prettier, and I didn't feel like I was prettier. I just felt like we just look different. We're both pretty in our own ways, right?
Yes,
But
good.
there was one evening in group therapy where everybody was saying, "Oh yeah, you think your sister's prettier and this and that." And I'm like, "Wait, no, I never said that." And they were like, "Yeah, you did. You've mentioned that before." And I was like, "I know what I know, and I know what I think, and I know how I feel about this, and I know I didn't." And it got into this huge argument, and I was just like, "This is not what therapy is supposed to be, you know."
Yep,
So
exactly.
that was just only one example, but I just felt like that there was a disconnect, that it just wasn't the right place for me or the right group of
Yeah.
people for me.
Okay.
Yeah, so and I'm sure, as somebody who's been in therapy, any therapist, not just any therapist, is a fit for you. You have to
Exactly.
find that one that's a fit for you.
And I've
And it's
said
the
it on the
same.
show. Yeah, I've said
Yeah.
it on the show so many times. If
Hmm.
the first one doesn't work, go find another one.
Yeah, it's so important. It's so, because you're on this journey to get better, and if the therapist is not helping you get better, then what are you doing there? What's happening? You have to move on. Yeah, you just have to. It's just
Yeah.
a non-negotiable, really.
Yes,
Hmm.
exactly.
Hmm.
Yep.
So just like a therapist, not just any therapist is the right fit for you, not just any group is the right fit for you, and that group wasn't the right fit for me. Although unfortunately I stayed there for like maybe a year or two, and
Okay.
then I ended up leaving because, well, I left therapy altogether because I had to leave my job, and bless you.
We're good.
I I had to leave my job, and no more insurance, so I couldn't have therapy. And like, so I didn't do therapy for like years before I found another therapist.
Okay. And that's a
Mhm.
hard thing, right? Like it's easy to say, I go to therapy, it's great. But when you don't have the insurance or you don't have the extra income to do so,
Yeah,
it can be very difficult to find that
yeah,
therapist.
it really is. Yeah.
Um, Luckily, there are, if you're in a complete crisis, there are
Hmm.
crisis lines,
Yeah.
not really as effective. I'm not going to say as effective, that's not the right term, but not for
N-
long-term effect, right? It's for
Right,
that moment in that crisis. So it's
right,
good in
right.
that moment, but for long-term help, continual help,
Yeah,
yeah, therapy is to me the best option, but it's not always something that you can find. But
yeah.
while you were in therapy,
Hmm.
what coping strategies kind of stuck out for you?
Okay, so not the first time that I went to therapy, but years after, when I was able to go back to therapy, a few coping strategies. I remember there was one, my therapist, who no longer takes my insurance. That's why I'm not with her anymore. But at
Oh,
one point, she had me do this. What is it called? Like I had to act out like
oh,
something.
okay, yeah,
Yeah, I was having issues with
role play.
role play. Yes, thank
Yeah.
you. I was having issues with my significant other at the time, and she had me role play my side and his side, and I was so annoyed, and I let her know this. I was just like huffing and puffing, and I was like, "Ugh." And she's like, "Go ahead, go to that chair. You're gonna be him when you're in that chair, and you're gonna be yourself when you're in this chair." And
Oh,
I was just so annoyed, but it helped me. It actually helped me find the words
oh,
and the mindset to talk to him about what it is that I needed to talk to him about. So that was one thing.
yeah.
Another thing was, she knew that I liked to write. So she was like, I was talking about how I was afraid because I have this fear of going out to
Oh, okay.
parties or get-togethers and mixers, and she told me to write a story about a girl. It doesn't necessarily have to be me, my main character, going out to a function and what happens there. And I wrote it, and I felt like it was a really good story, and it kind of gave me a little bit of courage to go to the next mixer
Okay.
at the time. So I felt that was, thank you for asking that question, because I hadn't thought about that in a long time. But yeah, those helped.
That's something I've never done. I've never done the role play thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that, and you know what?
Mm.
I'm trying to think of any guests that have really talked about that. And in 3 years, I think, and this is what I love about the show, because
Mm-hmm.
even though we've had 3 years worth of episodes, there's
Mm-hmm.
still so much new things to
Yeah,
talk about
yeah.
and learn.
Yeah, that's because everybody's so different, right? We all are so different, living these really different experiences. And even though, like, I may meet someone who was also sexually molested at 12 years old and went through depression, but besides that, we will have our own complete different experiences on how we dealt with it, who helped us with it,
Exactly.
all this stuff. So you're absolutely right. Yeah.
And it's so amazing to get all these different perspective and different things, because if you, not that we're therapists, but if
Mm-hmm.
you can't afford therapy like we're talking about, at least if you can get some kind of coping strategies that you can
Mm-hmm.
maybe try,
Mm-hmm.
and a variety of different ones, then maybe at least you can manage something until you can find a better solution or a longer
Right.
term solution.
Right. Right. Absolutely.
So role play, that's good. So in between
Mm-hmm.
the first time you went to therapy and the second time you went to therapy, how did you manage in between?
Okay. So I'll tell you, because this is a really good one.
Oh,
Are you ready for it?
I'm ready.
Okay. So I have a really close family, right? There are a few cousins of mine and my sister. We're like so close. We're like this, right?
I
That's
love
how
it. You just
close we are.
and cross these fingers and then cross
Yes,
those.
yes, exactly. And we decided to get together on the phone and even in person, so that we can help each other out with different things that we're going through in life, right? And we would meet like once every month, and talk about, okay, last time you said that you wanted to, revamp your room. How's that going? That type of stuff.
Mine's
And
going
through,
great. I've just finished.
yeah,
Like I literally just redid my room. That's why
oh,
it's
good for
funny.
you. I have to redo mine. Like, you don't see the chaos that's in this room. I have to redo mine.
Well, that's
uh,
where the camera's focused this way. The rest
yeah, there you go. And so we held each other accountable for different things that we wanted to do. And in that time, we started talking about, oh, I read a really great, self-help book. Why don't you read it, and we'll all talk about it? And in the meantime, we were like, I watched a really great YouTube video. It was really motivational. Why don't you watch it? And oh, let's all decide to exercise to see how we feel by the end of the month. And so we put these challenges to each other. And then little by little, I realized that all these things that I was doing with them, with my sister and my cousins, slowly were helping me to cope so much better. I
love
kid you not. I feel like I have found the perfect cocktail of strategies to help me with my depression, even right now when I do not have a therapist. Yes.
I love
Yeah.
that. Love
Yeah.
it. I love it. So when we were doing an episode of Bedlam, so this is the main show, but we have an offshoot. It's called Bedlam Beyond Mental Illness. We talk about the history of mental illness. It's
Mm-hmm.
my friend and I. One of us does the research, usually her, and the other one of us reacts. And as we were doing the show the one time, somebody asked us, "Hey, what is your Discord?" And we kind of looked at each other. She had no idea what the heck Discord was, and I said, "I know what it is, but I really don't go on it." So I was like, let's think about this, because I knew what it was, what it could be used for. And I talked to my kids. So we are setting up a Discord for things like what you're talking about, sharing some inspirational tips. Hey, I watched this YouTube video. It could even be, hey, who wants to start up a workout challenger? Like, it could just be anything to hold people kind of accountable for, keeping themselves getting out of bed each day. Hey, did you get out of bed? Awesome. You won the day, right?
Yeah.
So that is, we are starting it. It's a slow process because, like I said, she had no idea what the heck it is. I barely use it. So my 18-year-old is helping me figure it out, but I've got it mostly set up now, guys. So stay tuned for the actual, because this episode won't be out for a month. Maybe it's already out and I'm just talking nonsense, but it's really kind of an exciting thing. And I'm so glad to know that something like that could be so useful, because that was my thing. I'm like, we don't need to rush on this. Not that we're rushing, but maybe it's not even worth our effort, but it's so nice to know that something like that can be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. And when people are aware of it, they can tune to it, and it'll just be really, it'll be really nice for a lot of people to get a hold of. Absolutely. But
awesome.
Yeah, so that's how I manage depression, and not just that. Okay, so there's exercise, there's motivational videos, there's meditation. I do meditate. I do what are those called? Now I'm blanking. Like affirmations.
Oh, affirmations, yes. Do you have a favorite?
I do have I have like a list of affirmations that I found on YouTube, and my favorite ones are about writing. You are a great writer, and people do want to hear what you have to say, things
I like that one.
Yeah, right.
I might have to make myself a poster. I have one in my bathroom on the mirror. It says, "I am beautiful."
Oh, yes.
Body image is a struggle, guys. So it says, "I am beautiful."
That's important. It's important to really believe that about yourself. Any of these affirmations, because once you do believe it, it just seeps out of you. People can see that about you. I think it's important, and it has helped me with my mental health, because I grew up not feeling very confident in myself about anything. Like, because of what I went through when I was 12 years old, I don't have a very good, I don't trust myself when it comes to meeting new people. Right.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Right. And I married someone who was completely wrong for me. And now I'm just like, why wasn't I, more aware of this? Like, I know that I don't have a good judge of people. Why did I allow myself to marry this person? So I think it's really important that we keep reminding ourselves that we are good, that I do make good choices, all this stuff, because the negativity can be so much louder than the positivity sometimes.
And we are always our own worst critics too, right? Like, as soon as we start saying it to ourselves, you're going to believe it that much more.
Yeah.
And words matter. I never used to believe that. I'd be like, man, that's a bunch of baloney. No.
Yeah, words they matter. Yeah.
What we tell ourselves matter. And so I like to say to the kids and to myself, would you say this to your best friend? Because probably not.
That's a good point. Yeah. Because to our best friend, we're always so helpful. Like, no, don't say that about yourself. Meanwhile, we say negative things about ourselves. Yeah. Absolutely.
All the time. So before I ask my final question for this part of it, do you have anything else that you want to say? Do we miss any part of the journey?
No. Well, one part of the journey was, and I know that we'll get into this, but therapy. Well, we already mentioned therapy, but writing, all of that together, combined, everything that I did combined, was what helped me with my mental health. And I just want to say that to anybody who's listening and you want to try some of these things out, don't feel like trying all of this stuff out is a lot, is too much to handle. I did it a little bit at a time. Soon I was doing all of it together. Sometimes I did one over the other. Right now I'm not meditating as much, but I'm still writing. You know what I mean? Like, try all these different things that might be able to help you. And I always say my number one thing is go to your passion, whatever it is. Go to your passion, overwhelm yourself with your passion, and you never know what might come out of that. For me, my novel came out of that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I love that. Well, you kind of already answered my final question, but I'm gonna ask it anyways.
Okay.
So I always like to ask them a similar question, but I tailor it a little bit differently. So, what will you tell to somebody who is maybe just now learning the vocabulary that describes how they've been feeling?
Mm-hmm. So first and foremost, talk to somebody about it. Talk to somebody. Hey, this is what I just learned. I think I need to talk to a therapist, or I just need to talk to somebody about it. It's so important that you reach out to somebody, a trusted person. So important. Secondly, find a way to channel that, or not to channel it. Like to expunge it. Like, what's the word I'm looking for? Because I felt like every time I was writing, I just let all of my anger,
to just
negativity,
release it all.
Just release it all. Find a way to release it, whether it's through music or movies or writing or gardening or painting or whatever. Find a way to just release it.
I love that. That's a really good one.
Mm-hmm.
So talking about your book and how writing helped you. So that's how I got into writing too. That was my way of releasing all that negative energy. And you know, then you just keep going after, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like then you're like, oh, writing is great. I'm a writer now. So tell us a little bit more about your book, how you got there. What tell us about it?
So it was when I was suffering with depression that I didn't know what I was suffering with. And it's sort of like in an effort to understand myself, I started writing about this young woman who was going through issues. That's what I called it, because I didn't know what else to call it. She was going through issues. And when I was diagnosed with depression, I was like, okay, now I know what she's going through. She's going through depression. And my life is not I was going to say my life is not that interesting as hers, but I didn't want to go the route of where my life was, right? But I wanted to create something that was more compelling for a novel. And so I created for her the reason why she's depressed is this battle, this conflict with her mother. And so her mother doesn't want her to pursue writing as a career because she feels like she could do so much better with her talent as a writer. And that really brought my main character down to the point where she was really depressed about it. And she was depressed about how her mother treated her as opposed to her sister. Yeah. And so throughout the years, I've been working on this. I worked on it for like maybe a year and a half straight. And then I had an editor look at it, and she told me that, you know, this is a really great skeleton, but this is how you would, you want to put some meat on its bones. And I let it go for over 10 years because I was so depressed. Not only was I so depressed, but that's when I became a teacher, and teaching takes a lot of my time.
Yes.
So, and I know I have the summers, but the summers was when I wasn't teaching. And so now I had all this free time to think about all the negative stuff so I was too negative and too depressed to get any work done.
Such a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
Such a vicious.
So I put it away for a very long time. And when I picked it up again, I'm going to say in like 2018, I picked it up again and I was like, you know what, this is really good. Let me continue working on this. So I continued working on it. I found an editor. She gave me a lot of good points. I rewrote everything. I got another editor. She looked at it and gave me some really great points. And that's when I was ready to finally self-publish it.
Oh, that's amazing. I know, because it does. We've said it. We're our own worst enemies.
Yeah.
So what is it called?
It's called The Box.
Oh.
Right? Yes, and it's about, as I said, this young woman named Mia Hill, and she's going through depression. And in the novel, her mother has already passed away, and she looks at a painting of a portrait that her mother gave her. The portrait is called The Box, and this is the portrait, right?
Oh, okay.
Hmm. And fun fact, this is me on the cover.
Oh, I like that. I had to get closer, but you're
Yeah,
like all curled up.
curled up in a
Okay.
fetal position. And
Yeah. Oh, I like
so
that.
thank you. So she meets a painter. So her mother gave her this painting, and in the frame of the painting, she finds a note from her mother saying, I'm sorry for the way I treated you. If you find my box, you'll understand why. And so now she's on this emotional journey to not only find the box, but find out more about her mother, and thus find out more about herself, and going towards a healing path for her depression.
Oh, I
Yeah,
love that.
thank you.
I really love the cover. Now that I saw that it's like you in the fetal place. Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
Because from
thank
far
you.
away, I was like, is
Yeah, what
that
is
like a
that? Yeah.
shadow or
Mm-hmm.
something?
Mm-hmm.
That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
And where do people get the book?
Well, they can find it on Amazon.com. They can also find it on BarnesandNoble.com, or they can purchase it directly from me. I don't have a website yet, but I'm working on it, so I'm excited about that. But I am on Instagram at Cathelina Duvert, and people can always click on the link in bio, and they'll find different ways to purchase my novel.
I love it. That is
Mhm.
awesome. And what are you working on now?
Interestingly enough, so I started even before, well, actually, I started a few years ago. I started a blog called Kathy's Cross, a depressive's positive perspective.
Oh,
And it was just about when I realized all the things that I had done that was helping me with my depression. I was like, I need to write about this. I need to let people know. So that's what I
yes.
did. I started a blog where I wrote about the different things that I went through, and how how exercise helped me, how
Mhm.
motivation, all this stuff helped me, and what I continuously go through as well, and my positive perspective in all of it. So I'll write about like the negative things that I'm going through, and I say, well, here's my positive perspective, and I tell what my positive perspective is. And so I recently, I'm going to say last week, I decided, you know what, I'm going to put all these, I'm going to publish them as a book. And so
Oh.
this morning, literally this morning, I made my website private, my blog site private, so that now that I'm putting it into a book, I can't have the work just available
Yeah,
to
yeah.
anybody. Um, so I'm putting together all the blog posts that I had written. I'm putting it together in a novel. I mean, I'm sorry, in a kind of like memoir slash journal
Okay,
hybrid
yeah.
type of thing. Yeah. So that's what I'm working on now.
That's awesome. I
Yeah.
love it.
Thank you.
Um, I know I'm so bad at keeping like being consistent with my blog. I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna do this 2 times a week. Like I'm still wanting to,
Yeah.
and then 2 weeks
Yeah.
later I go, oh, I gotta write something.
Same. Same. I've had it for 3 years, and I was supposed to write a blog post every 2 weeks. Last year alone, I probably published four.
I
So
feel a
yeah.
little bit better for
No,
myself.
yeah. I did not keep up with it at all, but I do have a good amount to write, to compile into a small book where I think it'll be helpful for people.
That's good though. That you've got that going on.
Yeah.
And so where are people gonna follow you? Keep up to date with all this new stuff.
Okay. So I am on Instagram, and at Cathelina Duvert. I'm on LinkedIn at Cathelina Duvert. And I just started a TikTok account. I don't know why. I
I
posted a
love
few
TikTok.
things, but I haven't kept up with it because now I'm all on all these different platforms, and I'm like, oh my gosh. So I
It's
do
a
have
lot.
yeah, it's a lot.
It's a
So
lot.
I'm on TikTok as well at Cathelina Duvert.
Nice. Yeah. It's a lot to be on everything and be
Yeah.
consistent and
Yeah.
posting, but I love
Mhm.
TikTok. fairly bad at posting lately on my TikTok.
Mm-hmm.
But if you like cute animals,
Mm-hmm.
my animals have their own TikTok.
So cute. I love
So
that.
for anyone that wants to follow them that hasn't already, and I don't know why you wouldn't already, at 4 cats, 3 dogs.
4 cat. Is it the number 4?
Yes. Number
4
4
and
cats
then number
and
3?
number 3 dogs.
Okay.
And you will see oodles of cuteness.
Oh, so cute.
We actually have 5 cats now because we got
gosh.
another kitten. That's well, I mean, it's not really a long story. There was these kittens. This was the last one that didn't get adopted. I'm like, well, it's not going to the Humane Society. So I ended up with her because I was not
Nice.
going
I
to let
love
anybody take her to the Humane
I
Society.
love that. So, interestingly enough, I had a puppy, a miniature schnauzer named Roxy. So cute. I had to create her own Instagram because the world needed to know about Roxy.
Right? Exactly.
But unfortunately, and I'm emotionally okay with this now, but I lost her because of my husband, the husband.
Yeah.
He kind of prevented me, blocked me. Like, I can't see her anymore.
Sad.
But,
my friend is going through the same thing. She left an abusive relationship and she's trying really hard to stay connected for the dog.
Yeah.
It's like when you have a kid, right? But
yeah,
if it keeps going the way it's going, in order to protect herself, she may have to say goodbye.
that's what I had to do. I had to protect my mental health and be like, and I had to be okay with it. It was very sad, but
that would be so heartbreaking. I don't even know because my animals they're your children. They're
your children. Absolutely.
You have to take care of them forever. Like, it's not like your kids where they grow up and you're like, hey, I raised you well, bye.
Yeah, no.
It's like they're your babies forever because you can't just say goodbye.
Yeah.
So it's heartbreaking. But this is another heartbreaking thing. We have to say goodbye. It's the end of the show. I told you it was going to be heartbreaking. So do you have any last things to say before we say goodbye?
No, not really. Check me out on Instagram, buy my book. It's a really good story. It's filled. Listen, it's not just about a girl who's suffering with depression. It's filled with like a lot of sexy scenes.
Oh,
okay. Yes. So, check it out. I know that a lot of people who's read it, very satisfied with the story. So.
Excellent. Yeah, I can't believe that you almost didn't tell us that part.
I know, right? What's wrong with me?
Right. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining me tonight. And guys, I know that we weren't live if anybody had any questions or comments, but we will always read them so you can toss them down below.
Yeah.
It's all good.
Randi, this was a really fun conversation.
Thanks. You had so much fun to chat with.
Yeah. Thanks.
As always, thank you so much for the amazing guests that we have on the show. Be sure to check out their links down in the description below. If you want to support the channel, go ahead and check out our merch store. We've got some very cool things on there. That's my favorite. Sorry, I'm busy ending the stigma. But there's some other very cool designs. 10% of the proceeds always goes back to the Canadian Mental Health Association. Be sure to follow us on Facebook at RB Media because we have some great new shows coming up and you never want to miss any of those episodes. And remember, the only way to end the stigma of mental health is to speak openly and honestly. Bye.